Hello, Korean. Okay, this is actually my second time to be here. It's my honor to be here again, and very appreciative for all stuff like KB and every stuff like made this event happen, right? So I'm very excited to be here, and let me do a little bit survey. So how is there anyone just attend the last time DCOS meetup? Maybe last year, right? Anybody attend? All right, only few. All right. All right. And another survey is actually, have you guys like before this conference, right? Have you anybody know like the DCOS before? Can you raise your hand? Okay, a little bit more. Okay. All right. So I think it is necessary, right, to walk you guys a little bit. Who is the Mesosphere and what actually our team looks like, and the reason why we just be here, right? Actually, Mesosphere just like in APAC, right? Being like 2.5 years. I was like the first employer. The second one is Ben Ling, and we grow up like from a pretty small team. Recently, we got like a 20, and we just want to continue to work with KB to make a lot of deals and help the customer success. All right, and we also have a lot of customer recently in not only the Korea but also in like China, Philippines, Japan. So I would like to share something today, especially in telco, since we closed like 7 out of the 10 telco providers in the world, and it'll be really fun, right? If you guys know like some, also if you guys like work in the telco industry, right? So my last survey is there any customer is already working like a Samsung or KT, which is related to telco? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so looks like only me, all right? All right. All right, so let me go to the second page. Okay. Like I said, we closed a lot of telcos in Asia. We closed like China Unicom, China Mobile, and China Telecom, and EIS, which is in Thailand. And we also engage with a lot of customers, right, in especially telco in Asia. We talk with the Philippines, like telco, also like Japan, like NTT Docomo. So I'm gonna talk about like something, right, in telco. So actually, the reason why a lot of customers choose DCOS in telco is we're enterprise ready, and we also like have a lot of experience in enabling like the telco providers, right? In like especially, I don't know you get because nobody like in telco industry, especially the system called BOS, like BOSS. So it's kind of like a billing system. This is really like a mission critical. And if you want to use like think about if you're using like a cell phone, you have to like do the billing, right? After like the 1 month, you have to charge your bill, right? Something like that. So especially China Unicom, they're actually using like a DCOS for their BOS system. They already moved like a lot of their like the BOS is actually pretty big, right? It's got like hundreds of the applications to move like most of their application to the DCOS. And for China Mobile, they're actually using like not only the DCOS, also primarily like Mesos in their production. So, but their use case is primarily like a CRM. I don't know if you guys heard about CRM, customer like a reference management system. And also China Telecom. So because in China, we actually, the telco can be allowed to just build their public cloud, right? So they build like their public cloud based on the DCOS, and they're running like their system, especially in streaming and the video script, something. And AIS actually, they primarily use DCOS for DevOps, right? So this is like a major telcos players in Asia. And in the same time, let me just pull more efforts on Unicom, since Unicom choose like DCOS for almost like 2 years. And they put like the DCOS in production. they move like right now it's 100% their application to DCOS, and especially they containerize most of the application, even like Oracle or WebLogic, into the container, and they're also like using like DCOS as like a cloud provider. And the different in China, I don't know anyone know China. China have like 31 provinces, and Beijing actually is capital, and they just actually serving like different provinces and end user, and the central Beijing just play as like a cloud provider. Just they actually running like a DCOS as like an internal public cloud, and they just serve to other provinces, right? This is pretty good model, and recently they just like build like a 4 data center in like 4 different provinces, and they move like almost like all their bus system into the DCOS. So the scenarios will be like the end customer, especially one of the province, can just log in the system by self-service, and they can build their like the billing system just one stroke, right? They have their like a pretty good like a billing system by themselves, right? And previously, without the DCOS, they have to have their project first. They have to build like their hardware. They have to have the operating system. They have to build like their infrastructure. Then they have to let some vendors to build like a billing system, right? This is long circle. After DCOS, just one stroke, and they also will charge the different provinces on land, right? And they also save a lot of like the money based on the DCOS. The reason is actually they're trying to just like centralize actually their resources as one pool. And for other provinces, they don't need to care about hardware anymore. They just consume their services resources by themselves, and the central government or central Unicom can just take care of all of like the fallings. And this also they save a lot of money. They save like almost like $30 million US, and they also like so currently like I said, it's 31 provinces, but it moved like 16 provinces already on board in the DCOS. In the same time, the beauty is actually there is another reason, right? So actually, DCOS not only focus on like the microservices, they're also pretty good at like the stateful application, especially like the Cassandra, like Kafka, data related. So I got another page. I'll show you guys later. So they just like give you guys one page like a marketplace. So you just log in the system, like they consume like a pretty bunch of like stateful application by their request, right? So this is like the architectural level of the Unicom. So you guys can say in the bottom they get like the bare metal or like storage compute, whatever. I mean the current like existing infrastructure, right? And they build like like Mesos based on the infrastructure. And like I said, they have like a 4 data center. However, the management of the 4 data center has like one super like a powerful computer. And based on the Meso, they actually have like so they actually build their like a multi-tenancies and the security system by themselves, because they're not only running like the enterprise edition, but also running like open source. Because something, you know, if they have like a unique requirements, they do really need to just develop by themselves, right? They have to customize something. So that's why, so Unicom actually have 2 versions. So part of the application actually running on the enterprise edition, and most of the application actually running on the like open source. And based on like those applications being like developed by themselves, they offer a lot of like applications, like I said, like microservice frameworks like eSteel, as well as like some like stateful applications, microservices, and they actually have a team, almost like 50 guys, just like a factory. They build like the framework by themselves, and other provinces just log in and just consume by themselves, right? This is actually another page especially focused because Unicom is super big. They actually have their R&D center. They build like the compute actually based on Meso. They have their own like artifact distribution based on Linux kernel. They build like a Linux distribution by themselves. They also like based on a story, they're actually using the SAF, and they're also using like the Concave. I don't know anyone heard about the Concave, because they want to just if you have like a bunch of the servers, you really want to just like separate like your networking, right? You want to isolate a little bit. That's why I use it's kind of like SDN, right? SDN controller. They build like the SDN controller based on the Concave, and so I would say because Unicom is super powerful and they get a bunch of like engineers, they build everything by themselves. So we Unicom actually our partner and our like a design partner only in China and also in Asia. So we contribute a lot of like ideas, design to them. They build everything by themselves. But doesn't mean that the DCOS is not good enough. So just Unicom just want to build something by themselves, right? Because it's actually unique, right? So it's actually we don't have a common sense between a Mesosphere and the Unicom, right? This is another page. It's because this is another reason why like a Unicom say, okay, the DCOS is pretty good platform. Right, so long time ago, actually, like a Marathon is pretty popular. Everybody uses Marathon because it's actually the favor of the enterprise ready, right? Also, there are actually a lot of like customers using like Marathon, like and the Mesos. Especially we got the host like Uber. Uber actually using like Mesos's Marathon for a while, and not only like DCOS. And I think for this picture, I would like to explain a little bit. There are actually a bunch of terms today, right? DCOS, Mesos, Marathon, and Kubernetes. Well, actually the relationships, right? So let me explain a little bit. So actually DCOS is just like is the product, right? So DCOS wrap up like the Mesos. Actually, Mesos just like an engine, right? And based on the engine, you really need like the container orchestration engine, another engine based on the Mesos. That will be the Marathon and Kubernetes. So like 2 years ago, so Mesosphere just want to just like help customer and we cannot be able to just like to help the customer, but with some like a pretty big community, especially Kubernetes, long time ago, because we cannot control the code and we cannot control the community. So if any customer have like requirements, we do need to respond them and fix it, right? So that's why we just heavily invest and develop Marathon before. However, so recently, we do think that the Kubernetes is the pretty good container orchestration engine. That's why we, like 1 year ago, we just invested in Kubernetes and built a framework called MKE. And right now we do support 2 engines. It's based on your favorite. If you want to pick up one of it, you just based on your selection. You do whatever you want, and we do support it. Once you just like log in the DCOS, you got 2 options, either like Kubernetes and a Marathon. All right, and DCOS, just like I said, DCOS is just a name. DCOS include Marathon, Mesos, and Kubernetes. All right. So for Unicom, this is another big reason they don't want to do like the vendor locking, right? They want to just like do the Mesos. However, in the future, probably who knows? Probably we have another container orchestration. You never know, right? This is like another page, especially for the microservices frameworks. So they support all of like pretty popular frameworks like eSteel. They actually develop some like a microservices framework by themselves, and this is just based on the performance, right? The customer have their own favors; they choose whatever they want, right? And this is another page. Since, like I said, they're actually the service provider. They build everything by themselves. They offer like an open source favor. They work with like Ali or Tencent, and they build like some. They also have like a kind of like the frameworks being just already offered by Ali or Tencent. So they also have like some of like frameworks being provided by Mesosphere and our partners. Right. So I already have another pages. I will show you guys how many like the service offering already in our marketplace. So this is one page. Actually, it's pretty standard offering based on the Unicom like the marketplace. They got a pretty standard like Kafka, like Cassandra, everything. So this is actually the service offering that so Mesosphere being able to work with our partners, right? So they offer this kind of the standard offering to their customer. Also, in the next page, they work with like the ecosystem vendors like Ali, like Tencent, to build everything by themselves. So customers have their own choices, right? If they want to build like a Kafka standard, then whatever you use, and they can also build on some like a artifact based on the Kafka, right? This is like the web page, and they also have their own like a portal, since they're actually kind of like a public cloud provider. And for Mesosphere DCOS, especially open source like version, is actually like is private like administrator like portal. It's kind of like a different purpose, right? So they build like the operation like the portal. So meaning customers can just log in the system, and they can just track in the logins and do the monitoring, everything by themselves, right? It's totally like we would say like a self-service operation portal. This is some like outstanding the outposts from Unicom. They, like I said, they build like a pretty huge data center, 4 data center, different provinces, and right now they already have like a 6,000 bare metals machines in production, right? It's super huge, and they also have like a 55 like application being on board. Right, so part of the application for provinces, part of it for external like a customer. So they're not only serving the internal Unicom like the provinces, that also provide the services, offering the like the application to outside of the Unicom. That's why they have other customer outside of a Unicom, and this is pretty fancy, right? They already changed their role to be like a service provider, right? And they also like save a lot of money, like 30 million US dollars, right? So a lot of like guests ask me why they save a lot of money, because think about it. So if you're running your own like the data center, you have to have like the hardware to be ready, right? You also need to build like the operating system. You have to build like databases, everything by yourself, and you have to work with different vendors. Finally, you just like synchronize with everyone and build the platforms, right? For us, it's pretty simple. You just give me like the hardware, and we're gonna just help you just build a platform. And once we have the DCOS platform, and the customer can easily just go inside and just consume the service. All right, so this is another one actually since the DCOS in production. So everything's just up, right? So they get a lot of like consume a lot of like a storage, and their billing tickets are just up to like a 30 something, and they're growing up like a year over year. And the Unicom already have like a 5 years plan, stick to the DCOS only, and they don't want to change the platform like annually, since this is a pretty big like risk for everybody, right? This is business outcomes, and we do just work with Unicom. Right now, the teams are grow up to like 100, right? But for Mesosphere, only have like a few engineers in China, but they just build everything by themselves. Then they think that this is right direction, a trend for telco, because we're enterprise ready, but also give you a lot of like choices to customize, right? This is another like reference case. Actually, Unicom trying to play as like a vendor, and they go outside to talk with their customer, and they only use like a couple of days and just help the customer on board. In the same time, they save a lot of like either the resources, they save a lot of like the operation effort, and they save a lot of like the workload in the release their bills. It's pretty outstanding, right? So they play like a internal AWS, right? So, and I talk with customer like every day, and the customer pretty excited because they actually change the way how like a telco run their like business. All right, so that's probably my last pages, and I actually just want to try to help like you guys understand like some reference cases in telco, and actually. The plan is actually we actually need like the CTO of Unicom be here, and he got a little bit problem in visa. So I just help him to express those decks to you guys. Hope like you guys can understand more about like the reference case architecture, like reference case, especially in telco. So I don't know anybody have any questions. I'm happy to answer since it's a little bit overwhelmed. However, if you have any detailed question, I'm happy to answer.
네, 방금 말씀하신 것처럼 혹시 궁금한 점 있으신 분들 손 들어 주시면요. 질문할 수 있는 기회를 드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 질문하실 분 안 계실까요? 네. 마이크 전달해 주시고요.
Do you have any presence in India? And I'm primarily referring to the two biggest telcos there. One of them is Airtel.
Yes, you.
Yeah, so
You are.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. So we've been working like some of the vendors in Indian, and we closed like almost like 3 deals, but we don't have an employer in India. However, we really engage with the Indian market.
Yeah, and my second question there is that the other big ticket installation that's happening in India is Reliance Jio.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the entire 5G network has been put up by Samsung.
Yeah.
Okay, so my sense is that do you have anything that's being brewed there, that's being done there, or are we?
I would say we're open to talk, right? So like I said, Indian market we just started. We don't have like too much like existence, right, in Indian. So if you have any idea, I'm happy to talk offline and just like
Yeah, we must do that.
Yeah.
네, 인도 시장 개척에도 관심이 있으시다고 말씀해 주셨네요. 자유롭게 또 대화하신다고 하셨고요. 자, 혹시 또 궁금한 점 있으신 분 계시면 손을 들어 주시기 바랍니다.
Okay, let me add more comments. So I don't know, so like a Korean market, I've been talking with like KB. So Korean market not just super fancy about like Chinese company or the Chinese market. However, I mean, so from the telco perspective, China Unicom is bigger than the Verizon and the other telcos, right? So this is the biggest telco like a player in DCOS. So it's actually cover every applications in telco, like a billing system, like other system, including almost like 100% being covered. So it's bigger than Verizon, since Verizon only care about like data analysis and machine learning sometimes, and we cover everything, right? So if you have any question in terms of like the telco players in US, we're happy to answer as well, since they're actually speakers not here, but I'm happy to answer any questions.